I've got a video from a sovereign citizen named Mitchel Tabell from Tempe, Arizona area, Maricopa County, Arizona. And it's very graphic. There's a very graphic head-on collision that he was involved in, running from the police. And his lack of remorse for what happened is just incredible. And the Maricopa County actually let him do a press conference after he was arrested. I've never seen anything so ridiculous. But there's 3 or 4 parts to this video. I'm going to put them all into one video. It's probably going to be pretty long. So if you have a weak stomach, just be warned about the accident scenes. Anyway, let's go. And in case you're wondering, this happened in around 2018. This is not current. I'll start this with a little history of this guy's criminal record here.
Well, another big story we're following tonight. We're learning a lot more about the suspect in yesterday's dramatic chase.
Mitchel Tabell is accused of leading DPS troopers on a high-speed chase that ended with a violent crash in Tempe. Tonight, we have team coverage on the suspect, including an unusual jailhouse interview.
To say the least. Let's start with Team 12's Bianca Bono. She's live at the 4th Avenue jail tonight. Bianca.
Well, guys, that interview was less than 15 minutes long, but in that time, Mitch Tabell managed to say a lot, including the fact that he believes police are the ones responsible for yesterday's wild chase.
I didn't want to jeopardize anyone's safety on the road, and I said that to the detective too. I said, call the officers back. I don't want them to attack me. I don't want to jeopardize anyone's safety. But you don't aggressively chase people and pursue them, because it just instigates issues and can cause problems and jeopardize the safety of other people.
Why didn't you just pull over and ask the officer why he was stopping you to avoid this whole mess?
Yeah, well, I was concerned that it was going to result in some kind of unlawful arrest, and I didn't trust some detective in an unmarked car.
So if it was a marked car, you would have?
If it was a different car, a different officer, I may have felt differently about stopping. It's absolutely legal to resist arrest with force to the extent of taking an officer's life if necessary. They should just drop the charges altogether immediately right now.
And in that interview, we also learned that Tabell is a current student at ASU where he studies film. He also says he's a sovereign citizen. That means he believes the U.S. government is illegitimate. We're live in Phoenix. Bianca Bono, 12 News.
The next clip is a guy that pointed out this guy to the cops after he jumped out of his vehicle after the crash and tried to get away.
Guys, stay put. What's that? Just stay right there.
All right.
Not good, guys.
Sit down.
Do you guys know who I am?
All right, so that right there, that's the suspect who jumped out his passenger window and he tried to play it off like he was a witness. The crowd of people heard the crash. They rushed outside wondering what the heck was going on. They knew that this guy was involved, and our Donna Rossi continues our team coverage.
This is a very heavy traveled area, not only by cars, but people on foot, bicycles, even skateboarders. This road behind me here, rural, literally borders ASU. And that fact made for a lot of witnesses, but also put a lot of people in harm's way.
Oh boy, oh no, oh.
This is what the end of the crash looked like from the air, with the suspect crawling out of the shattered passenger window and walking away. This is what it looked like from the ground. And through the video lens of witness Jim Hunt, who wanted to make sure the suspect did not get away.
I turned my camera on and I'm watching him, and he walked a little bit, put his shoe back on, and then turned around and walked over to us and talked about the cops being crazy and you know who I am.
When officers arrived and surrounded the mangled suspect vehicle, it was Hunt who pointed out Tabell to them.
Hey, that's him right here.
About 6 or 7 cars pulled up and they all got out with their guns drawn towards the car, and he's standing 15 feet away from it. And we said, hey, no, it's this guy right here.
Darren Bowens works in an office overlooking Rural Road. He said he was startled when his windows and everything started vibrating.
As soon as I turned to look out the window, I see the suspect's SUV just flipping like down the street. I mean, it's like barrel rolling like 3 or 4, maybe 5 times.
A survey crew was working along the sidewalk as the SUV tumbled and slid within feet of them.
It started sliding towards the sidewalk. I took off running. I said, no, not my day. It took me about 10 minutes and I quit, until I quit shaking. But yeah, it was pretty intense.
Jim Hunt, who pointed the suspect out to police, said he watched the entire chase on a news app. He was wondering why DPS chose this busy street to try to approach the suspect, because it wasn't until that point that the suspect started driving in ways that put the public in danger. In Tempe, Donna Rossi for Arizona's Family.
I'm not a particularly big fan of a high-speed chase in busy areas. Apparently, you're going to hear from one of these news people asking him about stolen merchandise in his vehicle, but they don't cover that at all. He may have just robbed someplace. I have no idea. But as soon as the cops turned on their lights and went after him, he started running, and that's what caused this whole mess. I don't know. It's just insane. The next clip is actually going to show some of the accident. And the last victim is going to be the victim of the crash, the lady that was in the black SUV that he struck while speeding through this busy area.
Oh boy, oh boy, oh no, oh no, oh no. Head-on collision with that car, an innocent person involved in a head-on crash.
We are back on the record in number 32 on the court's 8 o'clock calendar. Sir, I need to start with your full legal name and your date of birth, please.
Yeah, Mitch Tabell.
Is it Mitchell Timothy Tabell?
Yes.
All right, thank you. What is your date of birth?
9186.
All right, thank you. And then let me have the appearances of counsel, please, and let's start with the state.
Good morning, Your Honor. Aaron Harder on behalf of the state.
Good morning, Your Honor. Brian Russo on behalf of Mr. Tabell.
All right, thank you. Mr. Tabell, you've been arrested on the following allegations. Some of these have the wrong classes of felony attached, so I will note that I've corrected those. The allegations against you are 2 counts of aggravated assault with a deadly weapon or dangerous instrument. Those are class 2 felonies. 1 allegation of aggravated assault involving serious physical injury. That's a class 3 felony. The court did not find probable cause on that allegation because the injuries alleged, based on the facts as the court knows them right now, do not meet the legal standard for serious physical injury. That does not mean that that allegation is dismissed. It just means that the court is not setting release conditions for it, and your lawyer can explain more to you about how that works.
I don't know yet whether they followed up with that charge, but it seems ridiculous that they wouldn't press on that. He caused that accident. He hit that woman head on, put her in the hospital. So she had serious bodily injuries. You don't get hauled off by ambulance because you're okay. It just blows my mind.
1 allegation of unlawful flight from a law enforcement vehicle. That is a class 5 felony. 2 allegations of aggravated assault on a law enforcement officer, which are class 5 felonies under the law. 2 allegations of endangerment. Each is a class 6 felony. 1 allegation of reckless driving. That's a class 2 misdemeanor. 1 allegation of criminal speeding, and that is a class 3 misdemeanor. Mr. Russo, oh, I see. You're here for all further proceedings. All right. I just needed to check your NOA. All right. So I will note, Mr. Tabell, that you do have an attorney retained, and that is Mr. Russo. So I'm not.
Okay. Great. I just want to say there was no probable cause, and I was resisting unlawful arrest due to federal law.
Mr.
Okay.
Tabell,
Go ahead.
we're not there yet. Your status conference is scheduled for February 1st at 8:30 in the morning in the downtown Superior Court. Your preliminary hearing is scheduled for February 5th at 8:45. Before the court sets conditions of bail or release, each party will have a chance to address the court. We will start with the state. I need you to please not interrupt while this person is speaking. Then I'm going to give your lawyer a chance to address the court on these allegations. So just be patient.
Okay. And the officers can be killed under USC Section 242?
Well, that should really help out your case, saying stupid shit like that. That's really a genius. I think don't interrupt means shut up.
I just want to put that on the record.
All right, Mr.
And should be.
Mr.
in my
Tabell,
opinion.
I need you to just be calm and patient, and I'm going to let the county attorney address the court first.
Judge, in this case, the state is requesting a $400,000 cash-only bond in this case. First, Your Honor, the defendant does pose a flight risk. Based on the facts of the case, the officers attempted a traffic stop. The defendant failed to yield and led them on a very lengthy pursuit through on freeways and city streets, which ultimately ended in a collision. When the defendant, after the collision, the defendant again attempted to flee from police, and police had to, citizens had to point out to police that the defendant, who the defendant was, and police took him into custody at that point. So based on his history, or based on the facts of the case, he does pose as a flight risk. In addition, Your Honor, the defendant poses an extreme danger to the community. Again, with the pursuit ending, with the end of the pursuit, the defendant went left of center, went into the left-hand turn lane, ran red lights, went into the opposing lane of traffic, and collided into another vehicle head-on. Fortunately, the victim did not suffer serious physical injuries, but the victim was nevertheless injured, and based on looking at the collision, it was probably inches that if it was inches the other way, he probably would have seriously injured or killed her.
You're going to notice his total lack of empathy for the victim in this clip and in the next clip, the one where he does his press conference for the news.
In addition, Your Honor, the defendant, looking at his criminal history, he has several arrests from different states. In particular, from New York, Your Honor, he has, it appears from September 2nd of 2011 from the state of New York. He was convicted of assault in the second degree with intent to cause serious physical injury, which was a felony. He was also convicted of assault in the second degree with intent to cause serious physical injury, or excuse me, with intent to cause injury, excuse me. He was given 5 years of probation and 6 months jail in that. In addition, Your Honor, statements that he made in the Form 4 are very concerning to the state. As far as him being a flight risk and following the orders of the court, he said that he states that he will not obey any rules of law imposed on his freedom, which is in the Form 4.
Who said that? I said that? I didn't say that.
Mr. Tabell, you need to let him talk.
Okay.
Your lawyer is going to have a chance to respond.
All right.
Additionally, the Form 4 also indicates that the defendant stated that he had the legal authority to take officers' lives if arrest attempts were made.
That is true case law, Supreme Court case law.
Mr. Tabell,
okay.
Please, if you continue to interrupt, it's going to become a problem.
What are you talking about?
Based on his actions right now, when he's not following the court's orders to allow the state to speak uninterrupted, he poses a danger to the community. He's not going to follow the rules of the court or the rules of society, and he does pose a danger to the community. Based on all of that, a $400,000 cash-only bond is appropriate.
All right, thank you. Mr. Russo, what did you want to say on behalf of your client?
Thank you, Your Honor. And first, let me thank the court. I was just retained this morning by Mr. Tabell's father, and I have a very limited command of the facts. Obviously, the state has more information than I do, but Mr. Harder was kind enough to share some of the information with me, and Your Honor's staff was very gracious in allowing me to get some information to appear telephonically. Judge, the information I do have, which comes as no surprise to the court, is there's a previous SMI designation. I think we're going to have Rule 11 issues that will need to be addressed. That's not really relevant for release conditions, but I tell the court that for purposes of the record, I don't have any discovery or any information. In fact, I wasn't able to have a conversation with my client, but I think the court can clearly make its own observations with regard to what I've said. I don't have, what I'd like to do at this point, Your Honor, is I accept the state's avowals as to the facts, and I understand the recommendation. I know that danger and flight are components the court needs to consider.
Any who's and bees.
So at this time, Your Honor, I think that we would be hard-pressed to challenge the state's recommendation at this point with any meaningful argument. And what I'm going to do then is at a later point address that with Mr. Harder and the court through way of motion and address it at that point. So I would ask that if the court is inclined to grant that, that it be that counsel have leave to address that at a later date.
To make a long legal story short, he agrees with the court on the $400,000 bail at this time.
All right, thank you, Mr. Russo. Mr. Tabell, the court is going to set the bond requested by the county attorney's office. That is $400,000, and it is cash only. That is based on a finding that you do pose a potential risk of danger to people in the community and that you are a flight risk. And of course, that is without prejudice for your attorney bringing forward additional information that is not currently available and presenting that to the court in an attempt to change that release decision. And you can talk more with your lawyer about that. I'm sure that he will be coming to see you very soon.
Okay.
We do have written release conditions. If you did post this bond, then you have to comply with all of them. We're going to give you a copy in writing, but they include that you can't go to the scene of the alleged crimes, no contact with the alleged victims or any of the witnesses. You can't possess any weapons and no drugs without a valid prescription. If you'll sign for the clerk, she'll give you a copy of those release conditions. It'll have everything I just told you in writing, including your court dates.
Okay. Will you be hearing the preliminary hearing?
No, sir. That is going to go across the street to the Superior Court.
All right. There is a probable cause issue with this case.
All right. We'll talk
I
to
look
your
forward to
lawyer
sharing
about
it.
that.
Okay.
Your lawyer will absolutely help you with that.
All right. Great. Mr. Russo?
Yes.
Are you speaking with Timothy about posting bond? Is that something we can do immediately?
Yes, and I'll be down to see you this afternoon.
All right.
All right. Great.
All right. So.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you, Mr. Russo. If you'll sign for the clerk, you'll be all finished for right now.
I got serious doubts that he has $400,000 in cash to post bond, or his father, who wants to post bond for him. He hired the lawyer for him.
Judge, I beg the court's indulgence. What was the first date you set?
Oh, it is February 1st at 8:30 in the morning. That's in the downtown RCC. Preliminary hearing February 5th at 8:45.
Thank you, Your Honor.
All right, we're going to go off the record now. Thank you, Mr.
I actually have 5 video clips. This next one is his ridiculous press conference that they allowed him to have. I can't believe they let him do this.
All right.
Thank
How
you.
you doing there?
Good, how are you?
Channel 3 and 5?
No, channel 15.
15. Oh, relatives in the media business? You look so familiar. No, I'll stand.
Okay,
I'll stand.
So you're just your handcuffs?
Okay, I'm ready to go. All right, I just want to say there's no probable cause. It's absolutely legal to resist arrest with force to the extent of taking an officer's life if necessary. That is federal law. That is U.S. Supreme Court case law that states that. And I want to go back to the beginning and just say there was no probable cause or reasonable suspicion or a traffic violation to make the stop in the first place. So I did not stop the vehicle. It was an unlawful attempt to make an unlawful arrest. It was an unlawful arrest, and there is no probable cause. I called the mayor. I tried to get him on the phone to resolve the situation. I also called 911. I left a report. I told them that they were attempting to make an unlawful arrest to call their officers back. Their officers did turn off their lights and back off for a bit. Then at the very end, when I got off the highway there, they drove off the highway. They had their lights off. An unmarked vehicle attacked me abruptly, bumped into the vehicle. So I sped off to, resist the unlawful arrest. And an accident ensued and got out of the vehicle and was arrested. So anyways, one more thing I was missing. Oh yeah, a detective called me after I called 911. He was not able to tell me why they were attempting to make the stop in the first place. He couldn't justify probable cause. There was none whatsoever. He couldn't have a reasonable conversation about why they wanted to stop me in the first place. So I think that sums it all up. I would like to either get like a pro bono federal civil lawyer, or I have a relative, Scott Tabell in Wisconsin, who could file a suit from Chicago and subpoena all the evidence from the case, including the 911 call, including the conversation with the detective. The phone call to the mayor was probably recorded. They can subpoena all the helicopter camera footage and the police reports and anything that's been written down by the district attorney's office. So I'd like to file a suit against the city and against the district attorney's office and proceed that way and file for a federal injunction against any prosecution coming from the city if they do not immediately drop the charges and release me now.
Were you worried about hurting anyone else?
What's that?
Did you have anything inside of your car, any stolen items?
Negative. I'm not a criminal law. If you have an impression that I've been arrested, look at the federal case laws that I have. I have several against me for unreasonable arrests without probable cause. I've had several issues with police before for being charged for things that I was absolutely innocent of, and I'm filing suits against them for those arrests. So there seems to be a pattern here of several arrests against me for things I have not done. They're all in the federal courts. It's all out there for everybody to review. And this is another perfect example of being stopped and arrested for something that I did not do and without reasonable cause. So the police are out of line here. They need better training. Furthermore, there is federal case law or federal law, 18 U.S.C. section 241 and 242, that protects citizens' rights of America to a high degree. And they say arrests without probable cause can be considered kidnapping or attempted kidnapping for prosecutions as well. It can warrant life in prison. It can warrant the death penalty. So that is one of the greatest laws ever written to uphold the U.S. Constitution. And they can be charged, including the prosecutors, under this section if they do not drop the charges and release me immediately.
Were you worried about hurting anyone else when you got off the freeway and you slammed into that car? Were you worried about hurting anyone else?
Absolutely. You know, one of the things I said to the police, to the 911 operator, it was on the message, they should pull that and make it public. Here's my verbal consent, was I didn't want to jeopardize anyone's safety on the road. And I said that to the detective too. I said, call the officers back. I don't want them to attack me. I don't want to jeopardize anyone's safety. They were throwing spike strips, you know, at me along the road as I was just driving along. I wasn't really running. I was just kind of driving along and moving out of the way. Anyways, and then I drove back to the college. I'm currently enrolled as an ASU student. I take a couple filmmaking courses. I am a filmmaking major. I have a website. It has links to my production websites, to my photography websites, to a number of things I've done, if anyone's not familiar with that.
Why didn't you just pull over and ask the officer why he was stopping you to avoid this whole mess?
Yeah, well, I was concerned that it was going to result in some kind of unlawful arrest, and I didn't trust some detective in an unmarked car, a detective driving out in the middle of nowhere, and I don't think he was state police. He was probably city police, the original officer.
It sounds like this pursuit was quite lengthy. It just didn't happen right there in the city. They'd been chasing him for a long time, and he kept avoiding them. No, you're gonna just die laughing when you hear what he wants the witness or the person that he ran into, what he wants them to do with him. He wants her to join a lawsuit with him against the police for chasing him.
But it was kind of a shady looking car. I mean, it was an old beaten Crown Royal, and I just had funny vibes about it. I wasn't going to stop for the guy, and there was no reason to stop me because there was no traffic violation.
So if it was a marked car, you would have?
If it was a different car, a different officer, I may have felt differently about stopping, but yet there was still no reason to stop in the first place. So you don't have to stop if there is, or you shouldn't have to stop if the laws vary. You don't have to stop.
What was going on when he was trying to pull you over?
It was just he was driving very slow on the road, and I didn't want to pass him. So I got over behind him because he was going like 10 miles under the speed limit. So I didn't want to actually pass him. So I slowed down, and then as cars started to build up behind us, I moved into the right lane in case they wanted to pass, but they didn't pass either. They just hung out to either watch what was going on, or they didn't want to pass the officer themselves. Whatever the reason was, they didn't want to pass either. So we just drove along, and then after I moved over into the right lane, shortly after he moved into the left lane.
So you knew it was an officer?
I did know it was an officer, yes.
You said the car was shady and you didn't know.
Oh, yes. It was like an old Crown Royal. I mean, it was the most unprofessional looking police car like I've ever seen.
What were you
is
doing
what I'm going to say. Anyways, I was out there driving around. I was either going down to the Amtrak station or I was thinking about going to San Diego. I was kind of going in between. I was going to get out of Phoenix because I just hit class for the day, so I had a few days off. I was going to go to San Diego or to the Amtrak. And then as I was driving down, I realized that the Amtrak was like the following day, and then I thought I might go back to the airport. So then I turned back around to go up to the Phoenix airport to fly back to Chicago. That's what I was doing. I don't know what this officer was out there doing or why he attempted to stop me, but he had no valid reason whatsoever.
Do you have any message for the woman who was driving the black SUV that you crashed into, who had to go to the hospital with injuries?
Was it black or it was black? Not gray?
It was a dark colored,
Okay.
I believe black SUV.
Okay. Yeah, how bad were her injuries?
She was taken to the hospital.
She was taken out. Yes, she should file a joint suit along with me against the city.
That was good.
Yes, he wants her to join with him in a lawsuit against the city for him running into her on the wrong side of the road in a head-on collision and putting her in the hospital. That's what he thinks she should do.
Because I said to the police twice, and I said to the mayor, I said, look, I don't want to jeopardize anyone's safeties. They're making an unreasonable, unlawful stop. I was stopping to get gas, and they attacked my vehicle and bumped into it in unmarked vehicles. I made a 911 report that I thought corrupt police officers were attempting to make an unlawful arrest. And after the police backed off and turned off their lights, unmarked vehicles that were not even like police vehicles, unmarked vehicles, made an abrupt turn to block me in, and the other one just bashed into the back of me. So I was abruptly attacked, and I just, sped off to resist the unlawful arrest. So it's unfortunate that anyone else had to be involved in an accident. I said it twice. I said it at the 911 call, and I said it to the detective who called me, and I may have said it a third time to the mayor. I really didn't want anything to happen. They had no reason to make any kind of aggressive stop or to throw spike strips. Completely unreasonable. There wasn't like a big crime. They said it was for like an unsafe lane change is what they told me, and then speeding after they were pursuing me. So that doesn't really make sense why they would want to actively, aggressively chase somebody down who doesn't want to stop, who believes they're under attempt of unlawful arrest, and who's calling 911, explaining that to them so they know who I am. They have my phone, they have my license plate, they have my identity. If they want to pull a warrant for like a speeding ticket, go ahead, but you don't aggressively chase people and pursue them, because it just instigates issues and can cause problems and jeopardize the safety of other people. And I said it several times, I didn't want that to happen. So anyways, it pursued. So I think the police and the city should be held liable for her accident, for my accident. I will be filing a suit against them. She should as well. Also, I don't know where the mayor is. I called the mayor's office. I left a message, did not call back. I have not heard from the mayor. So I don't know what's going on. He hasn't heard an official statement from me regarding this case and the prosecution. So now it's been made. So hopefully he'll reconsider and dismiss these charges immediately.
At the end of the day, you're responsible for the speed of your vehicle. Are your perceived freedoms more important than the potential lives of other people?
Now, I wasn't really speeding. I got a speeding ticket.
115 miles an hour is speeding.
When was that 115?
That's where you were clocked.
Clocked where? When?
Probably on the highways.
Clocked on the highways? It's in the police. Have you seen the police reports? Excuse me, can I get water? Does anyone can I get a cup of water here?
Not until you get back into your housing unit.
What's that?
Not until you get back into your housing
Excuse me?
unit.
Okay, that's fine. Forget the water. All right, one last thing. I just want to say there's also a speeding ticket in there for over 85 miles an hour. If you review the video footage on the highway, I was hardly speeding, just driving along. At the very end there, it was an unfortunate attempt to escape or to resist an unlawful arrest, and that's what it had to be. I had to speed off, and that's just what happened. They're entirely accountable for that. I warned them twice. You call 911, they can get in touch with state police, they can get in touch with city police, and everything. So that's it. I'm all wrapped up. What's that?
Do you consider yourself a sovereign
Absolutely,
citizen?
I'm all American. Look, one more thing. I've got to get bailed out. Hopefully,
Why did you have a license plate?
Let me
Use your
fi-
sovereign citizen.
let me finish, and then you can talk. Okay, so one last thing. I've got to get bailed out. I got to get out of here immediately. I'd like to do this in finer clothes and not in an orange jumpsuit and handcuffs. This is degrading, and I don't like it. I'll file a suit for this in itself. Anyways, I'd like to continue this in finer clothes. The bail is $400,000 right now. If they don't, they should just drop the charges altogether immediately right now. Or they can all be charged under Section 241 or 242.
Just one last thing, you keep mentioning that it was an unlawful arrest, but then you stated that they were trying to pull you over for an illegal lane change.
Right, which never happened. Right. Hey, listen, police can't go around harassing people to be the man. Okay, that's what they attempt to do. I have several cases in the courts where they just go out and arrest people for unreasonable range. And this is exactly, it never happened. Where's the dash cam of the illegal lane change on the highway?
So how many cases like this
it didn't
have you
happen.
won?
What's that?
How many cases like this have you won?
Your suits.
He's,
How many?
okay, that's it. We're wrapped up today.
So
ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for coming. I'm out of here. Goodbye.
His concern for his victim in this little quest of his, I mean, it's just heartwarming how much he cares about her and what happened to her as a result of his idiocy. I don't know if this case has been resolved yet. I can't find sentencing on this, but I'm going to keep looking until I do, and when I do, I'll let you know. Anyway, the last part is the victim of the crime here.
All I could say was, oh my gosh.
The right side of her forehead split open.
It was blood pouring. I didn't know where it was pouring from.
Her left ankle is spraying.
It had a death grip on the brake pedal.
The left ring finger fractured.
So they taped it together with this finger.
And her left wrist also badly injured.
There's a lot of swelling and everything, and it hurts to move. You know, I made it. So I'm happy to be home with my cats, and they're okay, and no one else was hurt. My car was able to protect me, but, you know, if it was pedestrians, then, you know, they wouldn't have been so lucky.
Is it not crazy how you were able to come out of how ugly that accident was?
It was. I saw the video while I was in the hospital, and because they were showing the video over and over again on the news, and they kept showing the crash like repeatedly in, I shouldn't say real time, but yes, in real time. And I'm like, oh my gosh, it was horrific.
She can't erase the sight of the SUV heading straight for her.
I see this red SUV coming at me, and I'm like, you know, every time I go to sleep, I see it seemed like the whole accident replays itself.
So how does she feel about this suspect?
It's more of a, how dare you endanger so many lives like that? I mean, you're coming down a main street where there is a campus, a college campus. Why would you do this? That is pretty selfish. So, you know, it's just, and I'm grateful that no one got hit. I'm so grateful that, you know, no pedestrians got hit, because I know that they would not have survived that. So, yeah, and like I said, you know, my car, my vehicle, it did protect me. I'm glad no other vehicles got hit, because that was one of my main concerns as well. I don't know, I'm just kind of mortified by, you know, his actions, and it just, I don't know, from what I've seen on the interviews that they've been showing last night and today, is that, well, not interviews, but, you know, the news, is that there's,
give his news
yeah, and that it just doesn't seem like he's remorseful, so it's just, yeah, I don't know. I'm like, but like I said, I'm grateful that I'm still alive, so, you know, and no one else was hurt.
And that's it, my little 5-part video there. I got as much in as I could stand. I cut a lot of it out. Not a lot of it, but some of it. Anyway, the guy doesn't have any remorse at all. I mean, that's pretty evident. He thinks he's right. He's trying to plead some kind of an insanity defense, or the lawyer goes into some kind of an insanity thing at some point. The guy's not crazy. He knew what he was doing was wrong. That's why he tried to get away at the end. It's completely ridiculous. But the victim has more compassion than he does for the other people involved. Anyway, hope you enjoyed. We'll talk to you later. Bye.